All right, let's get it rolling. Sports by the book here from the South Point studio. Matt and Everett in for Jeff Parles today. Jeff down at Allegiant Stadium at the NFL Fan Experience, getting interviews with just about everybody who's ever been involved with the NFL. And we're going to air a couple of them during this episode of Sports by the Book. We'll also be joined in about 15 minutes by Sammy P, SP Shoot on Twitter. We're talking Super Bowl, and we're talking some college basketball plays from the man himself. And then at about 3:40, the man behind the counter here, Vinny Maiulo, comes and joins us, talks about the updated handle. But I can't do it alone. As always, my partner Alex White joining me on the desk. And Alex, as we get ever closer to the Super Bowl, the money just keeps piling in. We talked with Chris Andrews earlier in the week, who is expecting so much more to come in as the week progresses. Wanted to get your thoughts on this number as well. An American Gaming Survey has estimated that up to 67.8, almost 68 million Americans will bet on the Super Bowl. How about the total? $23.1 billion, $7 billion more than last year alone.
That's insane, but I believe it. I mean, sports betting has become even more popular this year, and especially since it's being legalized in more and more states. Everybody has their apps. It's right there, click of a button, and it's the biggest game of the year. So I'm not surprised at all that it's increased. I am a little shocked with that number, though. It's very high.
$23 billion.
Yes.
And the question I have is whether that includes offshore, illegal books, or is that just in the regulated market? Either way, that number is incredible. But if that number doesn't include offshore,
I'm going to guess just regulated,
and
right?
unregulated markets, we may see double that worldwide.
It's insane.
It's crazy. And as the NFL and football grows internationally, we should see that number grow even more year to year.
Yeah.
Of course, the NFL playing their first ever game in Brazil coming up this year with the Eagles playing a team to be announced. Does it surprise you? And I dropped this on Frank's show the other day on Punchlines here at South Point Studio. He was surprised to hear this. Did you know that behind the U.S. and the United Kingdom, Great Britain, Brazil is the third biggest American football market in the world?
I actually heard you say that. I was watching that Punchlines episode. I was a little surprised, but I mean, it does make sense, and I'm glad it's becoming more popular internationally, everywhere.
That $23 billion number, we're going to guess includes just regulated sports books. Alex and I contributing to that number. We have bets in pocket, ready to go for the Super Bowl. Of course, our money comes in early because we're sharpening some lines, and we're looking at some unders, which we got advice from a couple different bookmakers throughout the week, including Jay Kornegay from the Westgate Superbook, and of course Chris Andrews behind us, saying if you like unders, wait till later in the week, but also shop around, because as I'll highlight with one of mine, I had a number yesterday in mind. It went against me, but then I found it actually at a way better number than I had initially even looked at a different book. So as always, shop around. If you're an under better, take a look at some of these numbers later in the week when the general public comes in. But if you're looking overs, now might be the time. And that is the case. So I'll start with you, Alex. Maybe just a couple, if you can kind of group them together, some tickets that you have in pocket, and maybe just some quick reasonings why.
Okay, so I do have one good ticket that we haven't even brought up recently, but I got this before 2 weeks ago, before the championship games. I have Deebo Samuel MVP 60-1. That's the only MVP I have right now. It was just a bad line, right? So I had to put a little bit of money on that. I also have Pacheco over 65.5 rushing yards in case that moves up throughout the week. Either team to score 3 unanswered times. I have no on that. Will the team that scores last win the game? Of course. And then a couple that we gave out throughout the week, right? Noah Gray over 11.5 yards. And then, will the Chiefs score a rushing touchdown in the first half? I have that at yes.
And there's a lot of folks thinking that Isaiah Pacheco is going to be the one to really dictate the pace of this game from the Kansas City perspective. You like the Chiefs to score a rushing touchdown in the first half, as you mentioned, number 32-23 on the betting rotation here. Don't forget, we got our 20-plus page packet of prop bets right behind us at the South Point, with more to come throughout the week. What's your reasoning behind that one? Because you and I do think that this game is going to be, or at least we're on the same page as how we think this game is going to be scripted. A lot of scoring early, at least in my mind. I think passing, but I think the Chiefs are going to be in the red zone quite a bit early on.
I mean, you just said it perfectly. I do agree with that with the passing, but I think you have to get your run game going in order to get your passing game. So I think we're going to see Pacheco early. And I mean, we've got options here for running backs between Pacheco and Patrick Mahomes. Could get a rushing touchdown himself in there. So I don't know. I think those first 2 quarters are going to be the highest scoring, especially I'm leaning towards that second quarter. I think you're a little bit different than me, but still in that first half. So I mean, it's plus money. I'm just taking a shot right there with the Chiefs rushing touchdown in that first half.
And then want to go back to that number that you got on Deebo Samuel.
Yes.
You got him at 60-1 to win Super Bowl MVP. You said you bet that before the conference championship games, right?
I did, because remember, he was coming off of that injury that he had during the Packers game. So he wasn't 100% going into the game against the Lions. So I think they just threw that up there. So put a little bit on that, have that going in case the Niners win and they give it to somebody other than the quarterback.
Well, you got lucky. I will say you were skilled in terms of your timing, because luck does play a part. It's part of the industry, but it's all about timing. You got it at 60-1. How about 30-1 right now for Deebo Samuel? So you are literally getting double what the line is right now.
Right, and if I was betting now, I probably wouldn't pick Deebo Samuel so much. I would probably look more at Christian McCaffrey, because I do think he is going to have a big game. But, I mean, at that price, I had to grab it. And honestly, I told Jeff Parles right before our show that I had, and he jumped in with me, so he's also holding that same ticket.
Okay. He got it at around 30-1?
No, before our show, before the championship
it's 60.
games, I said, hey, I just got Deebo at 60-1 to win MVP. And he goes, that's not a bad bet. I'm gonna trail. Yeah.
So you guys are both in on it at 61. We'll definitely talk about the MVP odds and that market with Sammy P when we have him on in about 10 minutes. But wanted to run through some of mine. There's some that I like more than others, and I do want to start with one that you had kind of alluded to. I've got two bets, 4001, 4003 are the two rotation numbers. First quarter or third quarter to be the highest scoring game. These are separate bets. I mainly just took a flyer on these because of the numbers. Will the first quarter be the highest scoring quarter of the game at 8-1? It's plus 650 for the third quarter. I think, and you're in agreement that this game is going to be fast-paced, high-scoring early. I think both teams are going to come out with a fervor offensively, and with two of the best schematics coaches in the history of the game, especially coming off buys in the case of Andy Reid and in the case of with as many weapons as Kyle Shanahan has on that roster. I think that the first quarter, legitimately, and not just because it's a great number, it does have the probability of being the highest scoring quarter in this game. And the 49ers have been one of the best third quarter scoring teams in the last 20 years. So that was the main reason behind those two. And it kind of goes with another bet that I have, which is the second half under, which I got under 24 right behind us, 30-46, the number there. The Chiefs this year, Alex, 17-2 to the under in the second half. And I really like this game to be, as we said, high scoring early, low scoring late. I would take a look at fourth quarter under, which was at a flat 14 early in the week, now at 13 plus the hook, kind of going against me. So I laid off, but I would not be surprised at all to see like a 9-10 point total combined score in the fourth quarter. So just kind of the reasoning there. Fast scoring early, low scoring late. I like first and third quarter to the highest scoring. Second half under, I definitely like more. Another game prop that I have, will one quarter be scoreless? And this number has actually gone against me, but I'm still going to take it, 31-15. It was originally at 4-1. And I just think with these two defenses that bend but don't break and find ways to force not only teams to go out of field goal range, but to attempt what they wouldn't normally on fourth down, kind of changing the game plan. We saw that with the Chiefs against the Ravens, getting them to completely flip their own script. I think that both of these defenses are at some point going to be able to have a 15-minute stretch where they both hold strong. So I like one quarter to be scoreless at even still at plus 350.
So that actually is going with you then. So people are betting that they moved it down a little bit.
Yeah, I wanted it. It was 4-1 all week, so I wanted to get 4-1, but I still like plus 350. Throw a little pizza money on there. Another plus money one that I got that includes Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes' first quarter touchdown pass. Now, I gave you the number the other day. The Chiefs have scored on their opening drive of 8 straight playoff games. That's the longest mark in the playoffs in the NFL since 1991. I don't see any reason why that changes here. I also have the Chiefs. What will they do first, score or punt? I've got score at even money. I think that they find a way to get it in early. But with Patrick Mahomes' first quarter touchdown pass, I just think the number at plus 180 is a little bit too elevated for my liking. So I got to go against that. And a number that I saw actually right before we took the air, Pat Mahomes in the first quarter is throwing just about 76% completion. So he is, when the plays are scripted, doing a great job of finding open men, and I think he gets a touchdown pass in the first quarter. I've got two running back props that I'll fly through quickly. Christian McCaffrey, first rush over 3.5 yards. That's minus 110. I just think that with 2 weeks to plan, they're not going to call a dud run with McCaffrey to start the game. I wouldn't be surprised. The 49ers get the ball, they're going to give it to him right away. They want him to have the ball in his hands as much as possible, and I don't see a way where they don't have a play scripted to get him at least 5 yards.
Right.
So
I do like that one a lot.
I like that one as well, and that's really my only one as far as one that I'd be willing to lay more juice on, one that I really, really have a strong feeling. And then the other one, this is why we talked about shopping around. Clyde Edwards-Helaire receiving yards prop was at 5.5 yesterday, right behind us here at the South Point. I went to go bet it today, and it dropped down to 4.5. Now, when you're riding such a tight line, such a tight straddle with 4 yards, you could get that on one catch easily. I stayed away. However, I went and looked elsewhere, got it at 6.5. So I am on Clyde Edwards-Helaire under 6.5 rush yards. But as we have seen in kind of a tale of caution here, shop around. 4.5 may be too low. I don't think I'm going to have a way to middle this. That would be a 1 yard middle, which would be incredible. That would be a story I'd tell for the rest of my life. But I got Edwards-Helaire at under 6.5. So that's the one that I'm on. Yep. Those are our bets in pocket. And we were talking before the show, more on the way, especially for you.
Yes, I would say I'll probably have at least 15 more. And that's funny. I really like that one. I know you got it at Westgate from our guys. I think I'm going to make a trip down there tonight. I want to sign up for that prop contest. Yeah. I want to get Travis Kelce score a touchdown in the first half and get that prop in as well. So, sorry, you said quickly. I ran through mine really fast, but great breakdown. Do you think you're going to add more throughout the week?
I'll probably have maybe 1 to 2 more props. Okay. I will have a play on the game. We're both thinking of a Chiefs teaser that we haven't bet yet. I'm leaning Chiefs and over, but we will see. I'll probably bet that one closer to kickoff just to kind of get all the information and see kind of what I'm thinking. But those are our prop plays on the game. Stay tuned the rest of the week, and we'll have something out by the weekend with all of our South Point studio hosts' prop plays and plays on the game itself, because it is important to kind of compare. You and I are on some similar looking ones, but I don't think we have any that we are both in lockstep on the exact same bet. So definitely something to keep an eye on throughout the week. Stay tuned to our social media. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe. Follow my partner Alex White and me, Matt Neverett, on social media as well. We got a treat for you today. Jeff Parles, the reason he's not here today is he's about 6 miles that away at Allegiant Stadium. NFL Media Day, really Media Week. He's having a great time over there and has been sitting down getting a ton of interviews. So we're going to air one of his interviews that he recorded actually earlier today. Matt Hamilton of FanDuel, also from the Up and Adams show. My girl Kay Adams, very near and dear to my heart. He sat down with Matt talking about what Radio Row is like and kind of just what it's been like for the first Super Bowl ever to be played in Las Vegas.
Jeff Parles back at Media Row, and now joining us. You have seen this man on the show before. Our guy, Matt Hamilton, FanDuel, Up and Adams. You guys had basically everyone in the NFL on this morning, Matt.
It was quite a morning. It was a lot of fun. Not just everybody in the NFL, but Oz the Mentalist, Bert Kreischer, with Gronk involved. It was a complete circus in the best possible way.
Well, I was going to say, when I walked in this morning, I got here right at the perfect time where Oz, who famously, we've seen him on Hard Knocks, we've seen him with the Bengals too, with T. Higgins and all that fun jazz. And I walk in, Kay Adams has Gronk on, who of course Gronk's going to be here all week with Kay. Yeah. You had Oz on there, and I was like, wait a second, there's nothing better on television than watching Oz the Mentalist trying to figure out what is going on in Gronkowski's mind.
Especially after 48 hours of no sleep for Gronk.
It's been 40. Oh, that's pretty good.
Oh yeah. I don't think he's going to sleep this entire week. So.
I can't really blame him. I mean, you're in Vegas. Why not?
Yeah.
So let's get to this game. So you and I have talked about this a lot off the air.
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes is an underdog for the third consecutive week. It is hard to pass that up yet again.
Yeah. I'm surprised it hasn't moved, to be honest, as, things have kind of settled in this week. Because as you said to me too, I don't know that many people that are on the Niners right now. Everybody seems to be betting Chiefs. And so I'm surprised the line is still what it is. But, yeah, it's hard. It's hard to bet against the Chiefs. It really is, with what they have had going on lately.
Well, and also too, you look at these games. Let's take the Miami game out of it.
Yeah,
it was frigid. Miami, we know, couldn't travel.
Yeah,
but these last 2 weeks against Buffalo on the road, there was of course the narrative. Oh, he never played a road playoff game.
Which
totally fine, total
nonsense.
And then the Ravens one where. Yeah, there were legitimate arguments. Like, Baltimore's been the best team in the league most of the year. Yeah. Lamar Jackson's a unique guy to defend. That defense has been a top 5 unit. And Kansas City didn't even need to score in the second half. And now, you and I have talked about this a lot. The Niner defense this is not the 2019 Niner defense.
Yeah.
This is a defense that the last 8 weeks has really struggled.
Yeah, and a lot of it, there are a bunch of reasons there, but a lot of it does coincide with them losing Talanoa Hufanga. I think that loss we didn't really talk about it a ton at the time because they have so many star players, but that's an all-pro safety. And he's also the type of player that's impossible to replicate. You can get backups in there who are solid players, but there's nobody who can do the things he can do. He's a Palomalu-esque player. There's no one else like that in the entire NFL. So I think that's been a big part of it. And I do think the Steve Wilks factor here, you lose D'Amico Ryans. Steve Wilks has had some struggles. This is going to be a massive undertaking for him to figure out how to stop Kansas City's offense.
Let's go to now when the Niners have the ball, because of course, Brock Purdy, first Super Bowl, Mr. Irrelevant. We all know the narrative at this point.
Yeah.
But the one thing Purdy has done in these playoff games, yeah, they started slow, but you have to come back from 17 down. You have to come back from double digit down against Green Bay. Purdy's done it, and he's had to do it with his arm the majority of these comebacks as well.
Yeah, he has, and it's been impressive, and especially what we saw in the NFC Championship game against the Lions, the ability when those plays broke down. You mentioned with his legs scrambling, but also just extending plays and finding guys downfield when there's nothing available, and it's been really impressive. But I do think, we saw the Chiefs stack the box because they knew they wanted to stop the Ravens' run game, make Lamar have to throw. I'm assuming they're going to do the same type of thing to San Francisco, Keon McCaffrey. But, the Ravens completely abandoned the run. 6 runs to their running backs the entire game. The Niners
ridiculous.
have to be willing to run against heavy boxes and stick with it, because I think, with their heavy sets against the Chiefs' heavy sets, I do think the Niners still have an advantage there, and I think they need to stick with it. And Brock's going to have to exploit the middle of this Kansas City defense. It's hard to throw outside the numbers, but the safeties, I'm not saying they're terrible, but there's opportunities there. The linebackers in coverage, there's opportunities to exploit them, especially when you have a guy like Kittle. So the middle of the field, running the football.
All right. Who's going to win the game, Matt?
I'm going to, I've been back and forth on this, and, as we talked about, it's hard to pick against Kansas City, but I'm going to pick the Niners.
Okay. You're one of the first that I've heard this week actually take San Francisco.
I just think with the talent that they have top to bottom, and I just think the game plan that they can put together offensively, if they do stick to the run, I think they can wear this Chiefs defense down a little bit, play some keep away from Patrick Mahomes, and find a way to get the win.
Matt Hamilton, Up and Adams producer, FanDuel TV, and a good friend of mine, and to say the very least. Hammer, thanks as always. Enjoy the rest of the week out here in Vegas.
Thank you. You too, man. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Thank you to Jeff Parles, and big thanks to Matt Hamilton of FanDuel and the Up and Adams show for stopping and talking to Jeff. I thought it was interesting what he had to say about what he thinks the Chiefs defense is going to try to do, similar to what we said, how they were able to get the Ravens last week or in their last game completely out of sorts, completely go against their own game plan. And then he turns around and says the 49ers he thinks are going to win the game. So he thinks they're going to be able to adjust the 49ers game script, but not to the point that's going to, change the outcome of the game in his mind. I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, Matt Hamilton, great guy. He's been on the show a couple times, and he's made some really good predictions. So I like that Niners pick there. He was on them against the Lions, and he's the one that gave out Ayuk and said every time he scores a touchdown, they seem to win. So
wow.
We'll see if that can continue.
I will say, I was looking at the anytime touchdown market and lead up to this show. Ayuk and Kittle were two names that just kept jumping out off the page to me. The odds aren't great, but I kind of like either of those two to score. And speaking of tight ends, we can never get enough Gronk content, huh?
I can't wait to watch that whole Gronk thing with the illusionist and going in his head.
Yeah,
so I'm excited to see that.
Some of the ones that is it Oz the?
Yes, it is.
I don't know why. I just think Dr. Oz. I think Oz the Mentalist, but Oz the Mentalist. Some of the work that he has done that they've put out through HBO or some of the teams have, incredible. I don't know how he does what he does.
I have no idea.
The one I'm thinking of is the one that he did with the Bengals and Joe Burrow, and just some of the stuff is just batty. We'll have to definitely watch that one because it's. I just imagine a monkey with symbols going on in Gronk's head. So if he can get into there, then he is really, really special as a mentalist. But yeah, big thanks to Matt Hamilton and thanks to Jeff Parles, who will be back in this chair tomorrow. And now we bring in a very special guest of our own, the man, the myth, the legend, Sammy P. It's SP at SP Shoots on Twitter. Getting ready to talk Super Bowl and some college basketball. Sammy, how has your week been leading up into the Super Bowl? And are there any bets that you have in pocket right now that you'd be willing to divulge?
Tremendous introduction, by the way. I finally found High Point UNC Asheville on the TV, so I'm pumped for that, which I think we have to talk about because that's going to tip off in like 10 minutes. Mm-hmm. How's the week gone? Too many questions about the Celtics. I do not care. I mean, all people want to talk about are the Celtics going to cover 12, and I don't give a damn because it's Super Bowl week. I'll rip through the props I've made quickly. No need to wax poetic. First touchdown rushing, plus a quarter. I love that, plus 125. I'm heavy on use check. I need one catch, minus 150. I bet it earlier in the week and bet over 2.5 receiving yards. That's come up a bit, like 4.5. I've got the 60-yard field goal at 40-1. And then the last prop, what's the last prop I bet? I got to look this up. Oh, first quarter under 9.5, which I always play. When Chris and Jimmy and Vinny took me in the back about 5 years ago and showed me some of how the sausage was made, they were like, all right, we're going to open this 9.5 and not quite 10. And I go, what does that mean? And they go, it means we respect the under. And you look across the board in Vegas and it's just under 10. 9.5 in the first quarter. The Chiefs' offense nowhere near as good as they've been. And look, San Francisco is very slow, methodical. They're 31st in pace on offense. They are not in a hurry. So maybe a 7-0, 3-3, 3-0 first quarter clip.
Like the Virginia Cavaliers of the NFL.
That's right. But Sam, you led me right into my question. You kind of already set it up. You know how this goes. Everybody kind of already has the game played out in their head, right? And that's how they're making these prop bets. That's how they're betting on their sides. How is it gone for you? How do you think this game's going to go?
I still haven't made a position on the side or total, Alex, believe it or not. I'm 100% props right now, which is sort of terrifying. But I made the game 2. You know, a lot of respected people we know made the game 2.5. So there's not really much of an edge. I do think the Niners will do what the Ravens didn't do because Shanahan is very conservative, doesn't take a lot of risks. He does what he believes is right. And in this game, it's run the ball with Christian McCaffrey. So there's a world where the Niners get the ball first, come down, 7-minute drive, 8-minute drive, go up 7-0, and then we see what happens with that Niners defense that has to be better. I mean, you can't be much worse than you were against Detroit and Green Bay. You have the extra week to prepare. And I think these receivers for Kansas City, I think the moment is bigger than a lot of them. I like Rashee Rice a lot, but these are young kids and bums he's throwing to. And Travis Kelce does have to deal with 2 of the best linebackers, and Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw. So I do think the Niners are going to pull it out at the end. And, you know, it's really interesting. And I love the South one because they give you the 10-cent line, the dime line. That's a really cheap Niners money line. You know, I mean, a 2-point favorite should be at least minus 135, minus 140, if not higher. But this is a really cheap favorite because everybody's betting Chiefs money line. So it in some weird way makes the San Francisco money line really cheap. And I do think that's probably what I'm going to pull as we get closer to Sunday.
I agree. It is a cheap money line here for that favorite. So you're seeing more of a slow start. Do you think this is an under game or and run heavy? That's kind of what I was getting at.
Yeah, I mean, look, the Chiefs have been a much better rushing team. I think if you drop somebody from a different planet on Earth and said, all right, wait a minute, they have the best quarterback in the world, but they're a good running team, you'd have to sort of explain that. You need more time. But this is not the explosive Tyreek Hill, Juju Smith-Schuster, Travis Kelce of 3 years ago offense. This is not a bomb the ball down the field. This is a ball control, don't make mistakes, possess the football type offense. And I want to say without looking, the Chiefs had the ball for, almost the entire Ravens game. But it felt like the Chiefs had the ball for almost 40 minutes out of 60. They dominated the line of scrimmage. And, San Francisco does not want to play a game in the high 30s with Kansas City. I feel like this is a ball control, time of possession type game. Who can be more physical? And San Francisco is extremely physical. But the Chiefs have been a lot more physical, especially on defense, too. I mean, that's the one side of the ball, I think, all year in the NFL that was so underrated. As good as Kansas City's been, I don't think they get the love they deserve on defense. I mean, this is a top 5 defense in a lot of metrics. Secondary is outstanding. They have the pass rushers. So, yeah, we'll see. I think, close my eyes, final score, 24-20, Niners. But, again, not a big edge on the side or the total because I'm right there.
Well, and people are so used to this Chiefs team of recent years being so offensively oriented, and then the defense does just enough. But people forget they were a top 5 defense, as you had mentioned, and a league average offense. They were 15th in OVOA by PFF this year. So they were literally dead even in terms of the average NFL offense this year. It's not what people are used to with the Chiefs. And you kind of mentioned with some of the players that Patrick Mahomes has been throwing to this year, it's been an interesting cast of characters. And that's going to lead us into our MVP market because it really is kind of all over the place. If you're not going with a quarterback, McCaffrey, or Kelsey, I don't really know what to tell you because in my mind, only Deebo Samuel outside of that grouping has a chance to win MVP. What are your thoughts on the MVP market as a whole?
It's probably a quarterback, and we've seen this market be throw up at a lot of books, like minus 250 quarterbacks against the field, and people don't want to lay minus 250, but I actually think there may be some value there. I know some wise guys would lay 250. One book has minus 280, so 250 might be relatively cheap. I'm not going to bet Harrison Butker at 200 to 1, the Chiefs kicker. Right? People always, you go on these shows, they're like, give us the best long shot. And we're literally pinning the tail on a donkey, and I can't see. So I did read a story about Sam Darnold at 200 to 1, and if Purdy gets hurt or something like that. I think you nailed it on Deebo. Some books have 25 on him. Look, the price on Travis Kelce, he should be 40 to 1.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you've discussed the Kelce thing. He's probably the most bet over guy going into Sunday. Yards, receptions. Last week he was plus 120, or last game he was plus 120 to catch a touchdown or score a touchdown. This week, minus 130.
Right.
It's moved 50 cents in one game. And the MVP number on him, everybody's going to bet that because everybody wants to be a part of it. But I saw one book dealing 8 to 1 on Travis Kelce. If you're betting 8 to 1, I don't know what to tell you. You can find 20. You can find maybe 22. You can't bet 8 to 1 on Mr. Taylor Swift. You can't.
No, but you can handicap the fact that she'll be there. So I do think he has, at least I think his number's like 70 in his receiving yards props. So maybe take a look at that. But not MVP, I'm with you. Two quick numbers that back you up, Sammy. 11 of the last 14 Super Bowl MVPs have been 10 to 1 odds or smaller. It's been a lot of the favorites that have taken home this award. And all time, there have been 32 quarterbacks, 8 wideouts, 7 running backs, and 11 other positions grouped in there as the field, if you will. A running back hasn't won Super Bowl MVP since 1998. Final game for Terrell Davis in his career when John Elway and the Broncos took home that Super Bowl. So, yeah, if you're betting on Christian McCaffrey, take it with a grain of salt. It has not happened this millennium. Want to get to your
Hold on. I got to guess these guys now because you give me the 3 guys that aren't short of 10 to 1.
Yeah.
Von Miller's one of them.
Yep.
Von Miller was 20 to 1. It had to be, Malcolm Smith from the Seahawks.
That's the other.
And then Julian Edelman had to be 30 to 1.
This is why we bring you on, Sammy. 3 for 3. Excellent. Bravo. And I'm glad you did because I was about to transition. I want to get your college basketball plays of the day because one of the games that you're looking at all the way down on the extra game sheet is about to tip off in just over 2 to 3 minutes. You're looking at High Point giving UNC Asheville 2 points in Asheville, and you like the home side.
And my parents are really proud of this segment right here when I talk about betting UNC Asheville against High Point. They're like, wow, he really made it. South Point is still giving you -1. So you could take the point with Asheville, some books offshore, or pick them -1. High Point has the nation's longest winning streak. It's a 12-game heater right now. But this number opened 3, and Alex texted me a few hours ago and said, what do you want to talk about? I said, UNC Asheville. And I think she put LOL, But look, it's come from 3 down to 1, and the favorite is flipping at some shops. So I do like that one. You got 2 minutes to get that one in. And I do quickly want to talk about Alabama and Auburn. That game tips at 7. We're seeing some money come under here, but the last meeting landed 154, and they had 25 turnovers and 39 missed threes.
Oh, my God.
I feel like that's a game that if it regresses the right way, you're going to get points in the SEC with this one tonight. These two teams fly.
Yeah.
I don't understand the move down, 162, 161.5. This game could easily be in the high 80s.
And do you have a thought on the side on this one? Do you like the Tide on the road?
No, Tide, different team. Auburn's been steamed. I would have loved to have laid 4 or 5, but it's a pass for me. I hate to be on that public dog, and that's what Alabama is shaping up to be, it looks like.
Sammy P at SP Shoot on Twitter. What are your plans for Super Bowl Sunday? Where will you be watching the game?
I was just going to ask that.
I'll be at home. This will be the first Super Bowl in 5 years I'm not in Vegas, which makes me sad. But, the $1,000 round trip flights and the double priced rooms and all that jazz. And I'll be back next year, but I'll be watching it at home with the friends and probably have I'd set the number at 15.5 on chicken wings. I'd take the over too.
Oh, wait, Sammy, we did want to ask you. So your podcast title is Chicken Dinner. Where did you come up with that?
So that was, winner chicken dinner has been a thing for 20 years in my life. I had a buddy who used to say it all the time. I had an uncle who used to say it. And then, all these different athletes and coaches, when they win these big games, Jason Campbell's one of them, or Jason Garrett, when he was in Dallas. After every game they used to win, he'd come into the press conference and go, winner, chicken dinner. And we'd clip the audio. And I don't know. I always correlated chicken dinner and making money. Not that I do it that well. Well, maybe I'm okay at it, but I think chicken dinner, everybody knows what chicken dinner means in our space. And I love the logo. Crystal has a hoodie, by the way, in his office. If you don't believe me, go find the chicken dinner hoodie in the boss's office back there in the South Point.
Yeah, go check it out. It's at SP Shoot your Twitter, and then in your bio is at Chicken Dinner, where they can find your podcast. He's Sammy P, Sam Panayotovich, betting analyst for both Nesson and Fox Sports, and a friend of the program. You heard him say it. He'll be back, Las Vegas. Sammy P, thanks so much for joining us here on Sports by the Book. We'll be back in 2 minutes. Alex and I have our college basketball plays coming up.
Once you've satisfied your hunger, get ready for more of the hottest casino games in Vegas. Our 24-hour, 30-table non-smoking poker room proudly hosts all the most popular poker games with a variety of betting limits. Visit the poker room for a schedule of daily tournaments. Whether you're going to hold 'em or fold 'em, the best place for poker is at South Point Casino. You'll notice that our craps tables are usually the loudest in the casino. If you've never played, join one of our free craps lessons to find out what makes this game so exciting. Check with the craps dealer for schedules and give it a roll. Bingo is also an exciting way to spend your time. We offer 7 sessions of bingo every day. Bingo! And each session includes a cash ball jackpot, 12 bingo games, a progressive double action game, and a $10,000 bonus coverall. Electronic units are available. If you haven't played bingo with us, give it a try today. Guests can also get in on the action at our one-of-a-kind race and sports books. 2 separate rooms designed to maximize your experience and comfort. Our sports book, with over 400 seats, puts you right in the middle of the action, 24 hours a day. The friendly ticket writers are happy to help, and it's conveniently located next to the famous Del Mar Deli, where you'll find supersized portions of delicious deli items like roast beef, pastrami, and Reuben sandwiches, or soups, salads, and pizza. Plus spectacular desserts fit for a king. And right next door is the race book. Over 150 seats, each with its own TV screen. There are 16 interactive player terminals, so you can bet right from your seat.
Welcome back to Sports by the Book, along with Alex White. I'm Matt Neverett. We got Caden, Sean, Andrew, and Ann doing their great work behind the glass as always. A big thank you to our guy, Sammy P. Always love talking to Sammy P. Not only does he have good plays, I will say overall, with both the NFL and college basketball, he is a rather sharp player. Love the way that he kind of lays everything out, kind of tells you what he's thinking, and he's got the Boston aspect to it. So I like everything about Sammy P when we bring him on. Great to have him as a connection with the show. And
a great follow. And he does really good. He keeps track of his record, so he's very honest up front with you and how he's doing. So, yeah, Sammy's the best.
Well, and him and I were both on BYU money line, so we at least have that we can commiserate because the Cougars were a no-show last night. But we're hoping to turn it around tonight.
They weren't a no-show. They were in that game in the second half.
The second half no-show, yeah. They got unmotivated coming out of the locker room. About 6 minutes away from Vinny Maiulo hopping on the desk, giving us updated numbers from behind the counter here at the South Point. But Alex and I wanted to give our college basketball plays today a great slate. There's a lot of ranked teams in action, but a lot of the games that we're looking at are a little bit further down the board. And I wanted to start with your thoughts on one that I have in pocket, 689, 690 on the rotation, Villanova at Butler. Love the Big East. Love the Big East this time of year, especially when the tournament starts to come into play. Really, really competitive matchups. This one starts right when we get off the air at 4 here on the West Coast. Xavier laying 3 at home in Cincinnati. I like the Musketeers in this game. They're a top 50 team in both offensive and defensive efficiency on KenPom. Villanova, not as good on the road and not good defensively in the paint whatsoever. Villanova on the year, allowing their opponents to shoot over 60% field goal percentage from inside the paint around the rim. They just don't defend down low whatsoever. And this Xavier team loves to go down in the paint. This is also the second matchup of the year between these two. Xavier outscored Villanova 34-20 in the paint in a Xavier cover. They didn't win. They lost as a 1-point dog, but they missed 2 shots in the last 10 seconds and lost by a point. So this is a Xavier team that has already competed with Villanova in Philly, this game in Cincinnati, and I like the Musketeers.
I don't mind it at all. I'd only look at the home team here. I love that revenge factor. Lost by 1 point. They'll be ready to play here at home.
Xavier just the deeper team, too. They've got 3 players averaging double-digit points. Even outside of those 3, they've got 3 legitimate 3-point shooting threats on the floor at any time. And Villanova hasn't really guarded around the perimeter as well either. They guard great from mid-range. Too bad nobody shoots mid-ranges anymore, right? And one game that you and I both had a thought on, 701-702, Pitt at NC State in the ACC, and you and I are both on the Panthers here.
I'm not on the Panthers. I just had to lean to the Panthers because I don't want to jinx
Mine's
you.
a play.
I feel like whenever I see your plays and I'm like, I like that too, and jump in, then it jinxes you. So I'm going to let you have this one. But I've been playing Pittsburgh a lot this year. They've impressed me a lot. I took them last week at home, but you go ahead and give your handicap for this one.
Well, as we said, Pitt has been undervalued and underrated by the books all season long. Jeff Capel has done a phenomenal job, defeated his alma mater at Duke. They beat Clemson. They beat Georgia Tech, and that's all in the last 2 weeks. They are really starting to upset teams in the ACC that they hadn't in the past. This Pitt team with a little bit of attitude playing against an NC State team that really doesn't have much of a home court advantage in Raleigh. And North Carolina, if not Indiana, the best basketball state in the country in terms of the prep and the college level. But NC State, I know this because my mom lives in Raleigh and I've been to their games. They never, even in conference games, have a huge decided home court advantage. So that doesn't factor into the handicap at all. I've got Pitt money line at plus 135. And one other game that I'm looking at that we talked about, and then we'll get into your 2 plays that we like, USC at Cal. And we same kind of deal. I've got to play, you've got to lean, both on the Trojans. This one for me, mostly due to this recent history against Cal. And the fact that USC is catching 2.5 points in this one, I think says a lot about how they're valued by the books. They're a team that is also kind of coming into their own as we get into this part of the year. But that trend, they've beaten Cal 10 straight times over the last 4.5 years. The smallest margin of victory was 7 points in those games. So not only have they beaten them, they've taken them behind the woodshed more often than not.
The Trojans they're really starting to figure it out. They're very disappointing to start the conference play, but they're starting to get it together. I can't remember who they just played, but they absolutely blew them out. USC did. So I was looking at that one as well, but I found a couple others that I liked
you've
a
got
little more.
You got 2 plays that you like, and one of them, Southern Illinois at Drake, you're taking big points with the Salukis.
See, and this is mostly just a number play, and that's because the first time these two played, Drake won on the road, but they were a 1.5 favorite. So now I understand they're at home, but to be favored by 10, I just think that is way too high. Now, they did beat Southern Illinois by quite a bit, but that was their worst game in this last stretch. They're 3-1 in their last 4. And when you get embarrassed by a team, I mean, they always show up that next time. So I expect a big performance here from Southern Illinois, and I think 10 points is way too much. So that is one. And then staying in that conference, I'm also on Missouri State, another road dog here, and they're at Northern Iowa. Missouri State plus 4.5. This one I actually would sprinkle a little bit on the money line here. Missouri State, I'm taking the hotter team of the 2. They're 4-0 straight up and ATS in their last 4. Scoring has increased, averaging 77.4 points a game. Northern Iowa, completely the other way. They are 2-3 straight up in their last 5 and 0-5 against the spread. They're averaging 61.2 in their last 5 games. So, like I said, I'm going with the hotter team here in Missouri State.
So you're going revenge storyline, hot recency bias storyline. I like them both, to be honest with you.
Actually, Missouri State has some home revenge as well because Northern Iowa went there and beat them on their home court. So they're going to go back and be trying to do the same thing. That's why I'm sprinkling a little on the money line.
The only thing better than one revenge storyline, 2 revenge storylines. You know it. So Alex is on Southern Illinois, Missouri State. We'll recap some of our plays at the end of the show, including an NBA pick that Alex is on for tonight. But now let's bring him in.
Yep.
We got Vinny Maiulo in studio, ready to go. And see, he's on his way over. Here he comes. Vinny Maiulo ready to update us from what's going on behind the counter.
I think that's really funny what Sam said about Alabama being the public dog, because I was actually leaning towards Alabama a little bit here, and mostly because of how many points you were getting with the Crimson
I
Tide.
kind of think so too.
Well,
here he is,
we'll
Vinny
see.
Maiulo.
That's the best game.
He's got a souvenir for us as well.
There we go.
Look at the
It's the Sam
sweatshirt.
Payanovich show.
That's the sweatshirt that Sammy P gave to Chris Andrews. So, Vinny,
There it
you were watching that interview and had it brought up.
That's
ready
it.
for
Chris, he
us.
said, bring that in there. I was going to put it on, except it looked like a sleeping bag on me. So
great.
I'm going to put this next to me.
I
We're
love
good
how he
in
said-
honor of Sammy.
If you don't believe us, go check with Chris Andrews. We know Chris Andrews has every polo from every university he's been to. I had no doubt that he wouldn't keep that sweatshirt.
That's right.
From
Chris,
Sammy P.
everybody thinks that Jimmy Vaccaro is the only fashion maven around here. But no, Chrissy is as well.
Especially when it comes to sweatshirts.
That's
Jimmy's
right.
got a lot of competition now with the
When you want to know about
sweatshirt.
sport coach, you could ask me.
That's
Vinny's
right.
our guy. I need all the help I can get. Well, Vinny, as we've talked about throughout the course of this week, because the number, I should say, is not really near a key number and not really swinging either way, a lot more action on props, maybe not than normal, but as we've been trending towards the game, is that still true? Are you guys behind the counter expecting more than half the bets on the game on props?
So far, I would say that's probably going to be the trend. Honestly, Chris and I were just talking in the back, and we always comparing, from prior year or a couple of years ago. I mean, because we did have the Super Bowl was in Arizona last year, and they did have sports wagering, so certainly a bit of an impact there. But I think right now we're ahead of last year's prop handle, but not a significant amount, but a little down on the side in total. However, I think that's going to pick up. I mean, tomorrow is a major arrival day. And then, of course, Friday, not only at the airport, but certainly on Interstate 15. So I think Friday will be a big pickup day. And frankly, look, let's call it what it is. If you're going to bet the game, particularly let's go shop around for everything. But there's no reason to shop anywhere else with a 10-cent straddle on the money line at minus a quarter and plus 15 cents, and a nickel vig on the side. Than here at South Point. So, and that adds up. I mean, because people are going to be involved with the game, the side, the total, and the money line, in addition to their props. So, I mean, that's something that I think will really see us get a bigger boost in the handle, particularly as we get closer to the weekend.
And we've talked throughout the entire lead up to this game about the handle on the props, the handle on the game itself. One area that we really haven't talked about as much, if at all, is what kind of a handle you guys are expecting in the live betting market. Is that something that you guys can try to predict ahead of time, or is it just see what it comes across the counter during the game?
That's a good question, Matt. I think you can anticipate a little bit more because the commercials are a bit longer, right? I mean, when people are spending millions of dollars for 30 and 60-second spots, you can always anticipate that increasing. If the game is close, the closer the game, I think the more the in-game, the higher the in-game handle.
Just $7 million for a commercial. Frank was talking about it on a show.
$7 million?
We were trying to
For 30?
For 30 or for a minute?
Ann, do you know that?
You remember that one?
Either way.
We're going to put
We
Ann on the
don't
spot
know,
behind the
but
counter.
either way, we
You
were
said
trying to
30?
raise the money so we could get an ad for South Point Studio, but
Pass the hat.
we haven't
Yeah.
got enough clicks there.
Hold on. Let me pass Sammy P's hood.
Yeah, that's $7 million of free pub right there, right?
But Vinny, you have a really special guest coming into the sports book tomorrow.
Tomorrow afternoon.
Oh, yeah.
2 of the world-famous Clydesdales will be here at the South Point. This is not the first time. However, it is the first time, I should say, that I believe 2.
Yeah.
Typically in the past, we've had Clydesdales at the 21 tables. We've had them at the bars. They've been at the sportsbook counter, but again, solo. Tomorrow there'll be 2 making their plays, so pay attention tomorrow afternoon. I don't have an exact time. As soon as we get a time, though, or we narrow down a time spot, we'll put it on the air and certainly on social media.
In a town with so many unique people, so many unique places and offerings, the South Point's kind of all in a class all of its own. You will never see not one but two Clydesdales going through any other Las Vegas casino.
I'm trying to figure out how to get one of them in this door here.
Oh man, it may not be tall enough.
Here.
I've seen a couple of the Clydesdales in person before, up close.
Yeah.
I mean, they are 7 feet tall.
Well, let me tell you this. I'll tell you how big they are. If they had a saddlecloth, it would be like a Christmas banquet table. Like that's trust me. Yeah, we had them. Here, of course, when they do travel, particularly anywhere in the West and in the region, this is their home, given the facilities here.
I didn't know that. Interesting.
At the South Point.
Yeah.
So the arena facilities, again, with all the rodeo aspects that take place here during the course of the year, this is really their Western home. So it's great, and they'll be here for the game, and they'll be here for an extended period of time. There'll be a big turnout here too, and you'll hear the Anheuser-Busch theme when they're playing and everything. Michael Gaughan and Ryan Growney, general manager, will be here as well. So it's a lot of fun. So if you, I hope it's right around the time of certainly it'd be ideal, I guess, between Sam's show and this show as well. So we'll have a lot of fun tomorrow afternoon.
So it's a true home game for the Clydesdales then. Walking.
Oh,
through South
definitely,
Point.
definitely.
But back to the not as important matters at hand, because they take precedent over everything. Is there any market in the prop game that has taken more action than others? Is there one prop that you can think of where you're saying, "Wow, I can't believe that many people are on either side of this one"?
I'd say the alternate point spread props have gotten considerable play and will, and there are point spread props with either team favored by 3.5 all the way up to 13.5. So, and again, the higher you go, the payouts are they do vary, but we're starting to see more on the the individual player props. Where I'm going to get to one of my 21 pages here.
There's almost too many. There can never be enough, but there's almost too many.
I mean, when you get to player props too, total receiving yards in a game by George Kittle has gone up already. Started at 47.5. That's gone up by at least 1 to 2 points. The first rushing attempt in the game by Clyde Edwards-Helaire. His first rushing attempt. Will it be over 2.5? Over 2.5, over 3, over 3.5.
Wow.
So that one, yeah. You're starting to see more individual player props get played. First rushing attempt in the game by Elijah Mitchell. 1.5 over 2, now 2.5.
Wow.
So those are the kinds of things that may be a little bit surprising, but that's what we've seen so far.
So, Vinny, we don't want to waste too much paper. So you have the original packet here. Now, I use the app because these will be updated, but not on the paper, right? If people want the updated prices.
Yeah, that's a great question, Alex. If you look at and again, the packet is a guideline,
right?
But always ask at the counter what's the current price when you get to the window. But they're also posted on the boards as well. So the opening line is always listed on the sheets, and the reason for that is it's a point of reference, so people can keep track of exactly how the lines are moving. And as you get more seasoned as a bettor, you want to know how the numbers are moving, and for a variety of reasons. Hence the shopping experience.
Yeah. And with so much else going on in the world of sports, people forget that there is more than just this one NFL game going on this week.
Oh, man.
Do you see the handle on other sports dip as the Super Bowl comes and goes, or does it stay the same and the Super Bowl market is kind of separate?
I think, actually, everything else goes up too, Matt. I think you see an increase. Last night's a great example. Now, Vegas Golden Knights games always get a lot of handle, particularly by our locals, right? But there was a lot of. I went to the game last night, by the way, which was a tremendous atmosphere. I have to say, it was like it had a playoff atmosphere.
For once, you weren't the biggest celebrity in the house.
No, I wasn't. I was not. Although I did see a lot of other celebrities who do the same thing as I do. So
Celebrities
and they were
in their own right.
everybody everywhere you went, you went to to get to stay hydrated, and it was like, hey Vinny, what's the price? I mean, everybody's like, oh my god, I mean, what's the price of this prop? I had to have a prop packet with me.
Just a bunch of dudes with their last name ending in a vowel, right?
But I have to tell you, the atmosphere last night was not only like a playoff atmosphere. It was about 50-50 in terms of fan participation. Now, the Canadian teams typically do travel very well, and I've noticed that about Edmonton and Calgary and Winnipeg in particular, probably a little bit more regionally, and some flight specials and things like that. But all those folks, they wagered on that game last night. There'll be cross-sport activity on a daily basis going to the Super Bowl as well. But I think all sports, including horse racing, will benefit from the Super Bowl being here this weekend, because as people are waiting for the game, they'll get involved with an NBA or a game of their NBA team, their hockey team, and of course the college lineup as well.
Vinny, is there a favorite prop of yours? Just not even necessarily like player prop from these two teams, or just like a generic one that you've always liked?
Well, the reason that I have I wouldn't say favorites. I would say more memorable. We've talked about the fridge prop, which again we're still paying from that Super Bowl 20. But there's always a prop. When Devin Hester ran the opening kickoff back in that Super Bowl, I think we mentioned last week also the game's first score. To be a safety was at 2014, I think.
Oh my God, yeah, Broncos Seahawks, yeah,
and
or Panthers rather,
60 to 1. It was the Seahawks and the Broncos, and there was a safety by Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning
went right over his head.
Right, oh my gosh, into the snowdrift. And so there's those that are more memorable. The great refund, the year that. The Packers beat the Patriots by exactly 14 points, which was the number on the game, and we wound up refunding the game the next. I mean, there was a line for like 24 hours just to refund the game, and again, there weren't as many props, so there was that much more to refund on the game itself. But that was also the first year I thought of. That was the first year that I think. I don't know if anybody else. I think we did it at Caesars at the time. We put up the following Super Bowl, not just the futures, but the AFC NFC prop, and let people, as they were cashing, they wound up betting that for like over 100,000. So, there are some that are more memorable than favorites from our side of the counter for a variety of reasons.
Yeah, that was all the way back in 1996, I believe, 1996-97. When the Patriots lost to the Packers.
1997, yeah, I called it the Great Refund. Yes, it was. We just held on to the money. We didn't even hold on to it for enough time for interest. And then, of course, the year that I paid both sides of the coin toss, which I think was about 1992, because nobody defers the ball in the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, lastly for you.
They do it now. Now it's now it has to. Now you have to. But back then, I saw the team receiving the ball, and I said, pay. And wrong.
I did want to ask you before we let you get back behind the counter. What kind of a market do you take on the opening coin toss? Because that just seems like it is the scientific definition of a 50-50 shot.
It is. By the way, only $1.02 vig here at the South Point. All right.
So you guys are the best.
4-cent straddle on the three various coin toss props. What will the opening coin toss be, heads or tails? The player to call the opening coin toss correct or wrong, and which team will win the opening coin toss. But you know what? Every year it gets more popular because it's got instant gratification.
Right.
People have it right away, and there's a decision right away. So those that win it, they're right back. Now let's go to the in-game,
Roll it over,
to where
baby.
there's just go right at it, and it doesn't go right in their pocket. It's just part of the process of. It really does add to the in game or halftime wagering.
Yeah, those are ones you don't mind paying out as much because you're going to see it right back.
It's listen. It's very with the in game. It's very impulsive, so it's all good.
Certainly, been there, done that.
Yes.
That's why I'm here and you're on the other side of the counter.
Well, I learned the hard way. Trust me.
Haven't we all? Well, yeah, definitely wanted to bring you in and get some updates on some of those markets.
Yep.
So we really appreciate you hopping on for a couple of minutes, and I got to let you get back to work.
We got to
keep Chris and Jimmy in line.
Yes, we
That's
got
a full-time job in and of
get
itself.
Back to Turner Classic.
Yeah. So that's Vinny Maiulo. Big thanks to Vinny for joining us, getting us updated on our Super Bowl markets, props, side, total, just about everything you can think of. This guy's got it all rattling around up in here. He's going to have a busy week, heading into the busy weekend. So we appreciate him taking some time and hopping on with us here. And want to close this episode of Sports by the Book talking about a particular NBA play that Alex likes tonight. You're on the Warriors, but not laying the points.
I went back and forth. It moved to 4.5 now. Warriors favored at Philadelphia, but the 76ers are just a mess. Embiid is out for another, 4 weeks?
A couple weeks at least, yeah.
Which is terrible because he was in line for the MVP. We were talking about that. Of course, he had to hit that 65 games, but now he has absolutely no chance. There's a bug going around in the 76ers locker room, and Maxime he was not at the early practice, so I don't think he will be playing either. Warriors are trying to figure it out. I like them, at least money line, so I don't have to sweat it out too much.
And that game tips off in under an hour. So if you want to try to beat the market to the line, maybe a big line move on there, getting it up to 5, maybe 6 points. See if you can get the Warriors soon if you like them and want to follow Alex's reasoning. All of that seems solid to me. I am a fan. People are asking about the MVP, the new rule where you have to play a certain percentage of the games. It works out to 65 games. I'm a fan. And this is extenuating circumstances. If Joel Embiid had never had another injury in his career, people wouldn't think twice. They would say, oh, that's just unfortunate timing for a knee injury. But because it's Joel Embiid and everything he's gone through to get to this point with the injuries, with the 76ers, with just about everybody in that organization loving and hating him at the same time, it is a really interesting debate that we're having this year. And in years past, the question I have for you, in years past, do you think that he has done enough right now to have won the MVP for this year without this new games played rule?
No.
You would still think it's Joker, right, in your eyes?
Yes, it is Joker. And, I mean, that's why you have to go all the way to the end of the season, right, to see how it goes. But, yes, it was a tight race between those two, but the Joker is the best in the league right now.
There's something to be said about longevity throughout the course of a year.
That is very true, too. That is very true. There was not even really a hangover from them winning last year for that team and him himself. So, yeah, I think it is unfortunate with the injury in this, but I'm with you. I'm a fan. At least a certain amount of games that they have to play to be able to win these awards. I think it's fair.
Well, and the main reason they did it was to prevent teams from sitting guys on the second end of back-to-backs, or kind of what we've seen from Kawhi Leonard in various years in the past. But with this one, it's just like you said, an unfortunate circumstance. And if Joel Embiid did not have the troubled, checkered injury past that he did, it would just be, too bad. But because it's Joel Embiid, it is this huge storyline. And yeah, you said you like the Warriors' money line against the 76ers. Is there a certain limit that you would not like to play it up to? And like the spread. Like if it gets to 5.5, is that too much?
Yes.
Okay.
I think that's too much.
Well, before we close the show out, we got another interview from Jeff Parles. Was able to sit down at NFL Media Day with former NFL offensive lineman Kyle Turley. I don't know. Jeff's biceps stack up. Turley's a big dude, as you'll see, but Jeff does not look dwarfed like I would sitting next to him. Check this one out.
Welcome in, Jeff Parles here at Radio Row alongside me, former offensive lineman in the NFL, now with Revenant Holdings. It's a pleasure to have you today.
It's good to be here. I appreciate you having us. It's always good to be back at the Super Bowl, right?
Absolutely. So I'll just ask you this to start off, because you ended your career in Kansas City.
That's right.
Totally different times, obviously, from where we're at now. Just when you were playing in Kansas City, obviously great sports town, great food scene as well. What do you remember most about playing in Kansas City?
It was a blur for me. It was at the end of my career. You know, I was nursing injuries. I shouldn't even been there. You know, and had 2 seasons. I was in and out dealing with injuries both of those seasons. So it was fun though. It was Herm Edwards years, and we got a playoff berth with that.
Right.
Didn't go very far. It was a one and done deal with Indianapolis. It was a good experience, man. I love Kansas City. The experience in Arrowhead Stadium, there's nothing like it. That experience, that's one of the iconic stadiums. You got to go to a football game and still experience what it was back in the day. Now everything's all new, and Arrowhead's still one of those great stadiums.
That's an amazing place and environment, unlike any other in the NFL. And then imagine playing on the home side there, a lot easier than playing on the road side there.
No, 100%.
For this game coming up on Sunday, of course, one of the big things for Kansas City going into this game is the health of Joe Thuney, who it doesn't look like he's going to play on Sunday right now. Obviously, he's in the inside. You played on the outside. But when you're missing your comrade in the inside, how does that impact you playing on the outside?
Well, just as a line in general, you have to have that continuity. Hopefully, though, I mean, this is the NFL. You've got 1,800 of the best people in the world doing this job, and any backup is a starter waiting to get in. So, highly paid individuals, they should be ready. These coaching staffs get paid a lot of money. There shouldn't be too much of a misbeat, and it's on both sides, though, that they need to address it, because the disruption that comes between 2 people or 3 people or 5 people working together is critical for the unit itself, and also for those people studying, especially in a game like the Super Bowl. If you add some new guy in there that hasn't been in there, then things can be completely disrupted for what you thought it was going to be, and not be anything that you prepared for.
Prepping for these defenses, obviously Kansas City's defense has had a great year. San Francisco's defense has had a great year, especially when they're right. Their pass rush has been great, dealing with a guy like Nick Bosa on the outside. When you're going up against the elite of the elite, how do you prepare for a guy like Bosa, or the guys you played against who are at the top of the level when you're in the league?
When you get to that level, when you're playing the best of the best, as a person who prides himself on being one of those, I always took it as a great challenge to that week especially really focus on me. When I was going against Michael Strahan, I need to be at my best if I'm going to block this man. So when it comes to those big-time matchups, I hope that, these guys are like I was, and I'm sure they are, that they've spent extra time in the weight room this week, extra time in the therapy room this week, continuing to focus on their game to be as fast and quick as possible, because these guys in the NFL are just next level. You can't imagine trying to have to block one of these guys and stand in front of them for even just 3-4 seconds. You'd think, oh, that's easy. They'll just toss you around like a rag doll. I had the opportunity to play against some of the greatest I ever played, and these guys in this game today are just that much faster. It's like a Derek Thomas play. Yeah. You know what I mean?
100%.
Yeah.
Just your thoughts on being here in Vegas. Of course, it's been a long road for this city, and now having the biggest event in the world, basically.
Yeah, unreal, man. To have the Super Bowl finally here in Vegas is incredible. Great stadium. I mean, this is going to be an awesome Super Bowl. What a city, right? And what has happened here. It's a good mix of people coming here that don't want to be seen or have it come back with them, and then there's a lot of great family atmosphere things here. It's great for football and all the great people that are here to see this game and be fans, even still being in a fun town like Vegas.
Perfect. Kyle, thank you for hanging with us
Thank
today.
you, brother. Really appreciate you. Thank you, guys. Go Chiefs. Let's get it.
I told you Jeff's biceps look good next to Kyle Turley, right? Great to hear a former player's perspective, and you always like hearing the offensive lineman perspective too, because believe it or not, those are the smartest guys on the field.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I love actually watching the offensive and the defensive linemen and the trenches when you actually watch football games. So that was awesome. Thank you to Jeff Parles for getting all these interviews for us to play on these shows.
Jeff's a busy guy. He'll be back here tomorrow airing plenty more of those interviews with a lot of his stories from the opening media day, Radio Row over at Mandalay Bay, and his other experiences so far this week. Far from done here at South Point Studios. Before we get out for Sports by the Book, we were looking up some injury updates in that Warriors 76ers game to get you before that game tips off at about 4:40 here on the West Coast. Looks like it's going to be the Warriors versus the Walking Wounded. Tell us a little more.
That's right. Tyrese Maxey is out for the Sixers tonight. It looks like Tobias Harris will be the only Sixers starter available for tonight's game. So I went ahead and I laid the 3.5 that we had here now at South Point. So
I did as well. Alex and I both laid the 3.5 with the Warriors. Really the only one market wide that we could find that was still open.
Right.
So
everybody else was locked. So
timeliness matters. Go find that line if you can. We love the Warriors. Even minus 160 on the money line.
Yep.
If I hadn't just laid all those Super Bowl prop bets, I might have had a little bit of extra juice ready to go for that minus 160 money line on the Warriors taking on the 76ers. Big thanks to Sammy P for joining. As always, thanks to Vinny Maiulo for stopping by and updating us on betting numbers. For Caden, Ann, Andrew, and Sean behind the glass. For my partner, Alex White, I'm Matt Neverett saying thanks so much for tuning into Sports by the Book. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to South Point Studios here on YouTube. Jeff Parles back in this seat tomorrow. Until then, so long.